Shabbos Kodesh. It is the third of the month of Adar, and we are on our way to Purim. We left off last night in the airport at the bottom of Kufches Amud Beis, going on to our Amud today, Kuftes Amud Aleph, continuing our discussion of Arbukosis, and today we're going to talk about pretty much the entirety of the Amud is talking about the mitzvah of Arbukosis within the context of Simchas Yom Tov, meaning we're pausing talking about the Arbukosis themselves to talk about wine and Simchas Yom Tov in general, which seems to be related, and there's a lot to discuss in how the relationship exists, but we left off with the discussion at the bottom of Kuf Ches Amud Beis. Kuf Ches Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. Tan Rabbanan Kol Chayavim B'Arbukosis Halalu. Everybody is chayav in these 4 cups. Echad Anashim, Echad Nashim, Echad Tinokus. Men, women, and children. And Rabbi Yehuda tells us, Rabbi Yehuda v'chima tells yesh l'tinokus b'yayin. What exactly is the value of giving wine to kids? So there's a big machlokes in the Rishonim exactly what this machlokes is about. Everybody agrees that you have a chiyuv of chinuch, that you have to teach your children mitzvahs. But to give kids wine, so what would be the value in that? The idea of chinuch, the big machlokes in general throughout Shas amongst the Rishonim, whether the mitzvah of chinuch is that the child is now chayiv in mitzvahs midrabanan, or that the father is chayiv to make sure that the child does the mitzvahs. What exactly is that chiyuv of chinuch? That's a creative chiyuv within the child themselves. But either which way, according to Rabbi Yehuda is saying there'd be no value in the mitzvah of chinuch for this child, because if he doesn't enjoy it, then what you are doing is teaching him something that he is not ready for. He's not ready for this mitzvah, because when he drinks it now, it won't be anything like when he drinks it later. Meaning, wine is something that a person appreciates usually only when they are older. To give them wine now would not be would be of no value, and would seem to be then the Tanna Kama is of the opinion that you should give them wine, because this is part of the chinuch. Even if they don't enjoy it now, they need to know that this is what the mitzvah is. Says Rabbi Yehuda, rather what you do instead, in order to ostensibly create a sense of excitement around Leil HaSeder. Adults are excited about the 4 cups of wine. What are children going to be excited about? Mechalkin lahen, you give them klayos ve'egoyim b'erev Pesach. You give them toasted grains and nuts on erev Pesach. The Rosh Pam here points out here, klayos means kalim mechitin nishanim. You would take old grains. Rashi points out as well. The chodesh also adayin b'layla rishon shel Pesach. It has to be grains from the previous year, because chodesh is still aser. You're not allowed to have the new grains of this new season. And then the Rashbam tells us, u'makom yesh b'sfard miyavshim chitin yishanim b'machwas al gabe ha'ur v'ochlin oisam im egoizim b'kinuach suda. That there are places in Spain where they toast grains and nuts over the fire. And that's why this would not end up being chametz. That's important to point out. If you just toast grain without any liquid there, so you have popped wheat or whatever this is, popped barley. So that would be that would be the recipe, and they would eat it as dessert. Now, what's the value of giving them dessert? Now, be'erev Pesach. So be'erev Pesach doesn't mean erev Pesach. What we call erev Pesach means be'erev Pesach, on the night of Pesach. Sometimes you see that Erev Pesach means the night of Pesach, and sometimes Erev Pesach means the afternoon before Pesach, or even the evening before Pesach. Erev Pesach. So says the Gemara, Erev Pesach kidei shelo yishnu, so that they don't fall asleep, because they got their candy, right? They already got their dessert. They're very excited. This is a very exciting meal. And then they are going to ask questions. So we'll see that later on Kuf Tes Vav. The halachas of Manishtana and asking the questions. So Amr Alav al Rabbi Akiva, they said about Rabbi Akiva, Shayim Mechalik Klayos ve'Egos and Tinagus b'erev Pesach, that Rabbi Akiva would always make sure to give out these candies, dessert to the kids at the beginning of the Seder, Kedei shelo yishnu, so that they don't fall asleep, and then they're going to ask questions. Tanya, and then we have a brisa apropos to this. Rabbi Eliezer says, Chaytfin matzos belele Pesachim b'shvil tinochos shelo yishnu. Rabbi Eliezer says that we grab matzos, or perhaps we grab mitzvahs. There's a whole slew of interpretations in the Rishonim and Acharonim what exactly this is talking about. Maybe it means chadvin matzos, that we steal the matzos from each other. This is the origin of the minhag of stealing the afikomen. Although many of the Acharonim point out that it's not kedai to call it stealing the afikomen, because you don't want your kids to get used to the idea of stealing anything ever. But chadvin matzos, that you the kids grab the afikomen to be able to chadvin matzos belele Pesachim b'shvil tinochos shelo yishnu, because that way the kids are not going to sleep. Or maybe chadvin mitzvahs, that we grab mitzvahs and we take away the table on Leil HaSeder. That's the what we'll see later on. The same idea of once you put the tray in front of them, you take the tray away. This is what the minhag is that we have of covering the where you see in the Haggadah, cover the Seder plate, uncover the Seder plate, cover the matzahs, uncover the matzahs. It comes from this idea. Chadvin matzahs belele Pesachim, or chadvin mitzvahs belele Pesachim. Or alternatively, that you don't have to wait for the balabais to eat matzah before you start eating matzah. Or alternatively, that everybody makes a game out of grabbing the matzahs. Mishum chiv mitzvah. That's how Soloveitchik explained that the chav matzahs is a din chiv mitzvah to indicate how much we love this mitzvah of matzah. On Leil Pesachim. Okay, Tanya. Apropos to this, we have another brayso that says Amar alav al Rabbi Akiva. So they say about Rabbi Akiva miyom loy amar. He never said, meaning, and this would obviously be once he became Talmid Chacham, started learning after the age of 40. He never said higia eis lamed b'beis hamedrash, that it's time to leave the beis medrash, to stand up and go. Chutz, except for there were 2 times that he said, "Chavra, get out of the beis medrash." Chutz me'arv Pesachim, except for arv Pesachim ve'erev Yom Kippurim. Arv Pesachim and erev Yom Kippurim. Those are the 2 times that he kicked everybody out of the beis medrash. Why? Be'erev Pesach, b'shvil tinochos kedei shelo yishnu. On erev Pesach, so that the kids should not fall asleep. Ve'erev Yom Kippurim, and erev Yom Kippur kedei sheyachilu es b'neim, so that everybody can go home and feed their kids. What exactly does it mean that he has to go home in order to make sure that the kids go to bed? That the kids don't go to bed. So some of the Rishonim explain what that means is that the father has to come home to make sure that the kids take a nap on Erev Pesach. Because if you take a nap on Erev Pesach, then you'll be able to stay up for the Seder. Or alternatively, it means not Ba'arv Pesachim on Erev Pesach, but Ba'arv Pesachim on the night of Pesach, that people used to sit around in Shmuz and Shul and learn. They would ask Shalos, whatever. He would throw everybody out of Shul, so that everybody could go home and start the Seder on time, so that the kids didn't fall asleep. I suppose, practically speaking, both of these are good practices told of Bisman Hazeh. And Erev Yom Kippurim kedei sheyachilu es b'neim, so that you feed your children. So this is once again an interesting question in the Rishonim and the Acharonim. Why exactly does the father need to come home to feed his children? The mother can feed the children. What's going on? No, there's a mitzvah of chinuch. There's a mitzvah of chinuch because there's a chiyuv of eating on Erev Yom Kippur. So the father has to be around to educate that there's a mitzvah of eating. The kids aren't going to be fasting. Yeah, the kids aren't going to be fasting, but they still have a chiyuv of eating. Meaning the mitzvah of eating on Erev Yom Kippur is still chinuch, even if they're not yet ready for the mitzvah of fasting. Okay, Tana Rabbanan. The Brisa says as follows: Chayiv adam l'sameach banav b'nei beisai baregel. There is an obligation for a person to make his children and the members of his household happy on a Yom Tov. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, "V'samachta b'chagecha," you will rejoice on your holiday. This is a chiyuv d'oraisa to be misameach the members of your family. V'samachta b'chagecha. B'mem mesamchem. How do you make your family members happy? B'yayin. You make sure that there's some good drinks to drink. Tosfos points out here, b'mem mesamchem b'yayin. So Hainu Bisman Hazeh, that's in today's day and age. Aval Bisman Beis Hamikdash en Simcha Ela B'Basar, says the Tosfos, in the days of the Beis Hamikdash. So en Simcha Ela B'Basar. So this is an interesting discussion. Do we say en Simcha B'Basar v'yayin? We'll see this in a moment. Or do we say in times of the Beis Hamikdash it was Basar, and Bisman Hazeh it is b'yayin? So, how do you make them happy? You make them happy with one. Rabbi Yehuda says, that men, you make them happy with what's good for them, which one. With what's good for them. And we'll see that in a moment. But men like wine. How do you make your wife happy? Tani Rav Yosef says, Bavel depends where you are. In Bavel, big day tzivonim, with colored clothing. Eretz Yisrael, and Eretz Yisrael, big day pishton megahatim with pressed linen garments. Megahatim is to iron, to press. So with pressed linen garments, that was the fashion in Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael. So it seems to be that this is the din in the fashions. Whatever women like, that's what you got to know. So I suppose there's a chiyuv for men to know what is fashionable. Ask around and figure out what does your wife want. Important to point out here that it doesn't have to be a surprise. I always say this to husbands. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to try intuit what your wife wants. Ask her, what do you want? 9 times out of 10, she'll tell you. Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira would say, Bisman she Beis Hamikdash Kayam, in the days of the Beis Hamikdash in Simcha Ela B'Basar. In the days of the Beis Hamikdash, the only Simcha was B'Basar, meaning that was the way of fulfilling the mitzvah of Simcha Shenemar, as the Pasuk says, V'Zavachta Shlamim V'Achalta Sham, that you will slaughter your shlamim. You're gonna bring them up as a carbon, as a zavach, V'Achalta Sham, and eat them there, meaning in Yerushalayim, v'samachta lifnei Hashem Elokecha, and you will be happy in front of Hashem your God. That was in the days of the Beis Hamikdash. V'achshav, and now she'ein Beis Hamikdash kayim, that the Beis Hamikdash is not around. Ein simcha ela b'yayin. There is no simcha other than wine. Shenema, as the pasuk says, yain yisamach levav enosh, that wine will make a person's heart happy. There's a big machlokes in the Rishonim. Does that mean that bisman hazeh there is no chiyuv of simcha midaraisa because ein simcha el b'basar, and basar only means basar shlamim, or does it simply mean, and that's how the Tosfos and the Rashbam seem to understand here, or alternatively, this is how the Shagzar understands within the Rambam, that there's still a mitzvah of simcha bisman hazeh. In the days of the Beis Hamikdash, the simcha was b'basar shlamim, and that was enough. Today, what you would need is basar and yain in order to make up for the shlamim. And I once gave a long Shabbos Haggadah drasha that arguably, and this is based on the Sfas, that arguably the institution of Arba Kosos comes to take the place of the Korban Pesach. Meaning that it was only once the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed that they instituted the Arba Kosos Shel Yain. That's Ein Shalom Tim Sanachas. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak says, Rabbi Yitzchak, Kasa de Mursa, Dehava B'Tzipari. He havas kamin look at the Mikdasha. If you want to know what the shear of wine is that you need to be drinking, so you need a revius. So what's a revius? A revius is a revius of a loig. What exactly is a loig? So Rabbi Yitzchak says that the Kasa de Mursa, the measurement that they used in Tzipari for selling fish oil, I don't know, omega-3s for the doctors there, right? They would sell fish oil. So there was it was a physical measurement. It was like a measuring cup that was the standard measurement. And I suppose they would make measuring cups based off of that measurement. Like the original pound was an actual measurement. Kilogram is a measurement somewhere. The institution for standard weights and measurements, international standard weights and measurements, there is a physical object that is a kilogram, physical object, which is a pound, that everything is, strictly speaking, supposed to be based off of. But that measurement in Tzipari, he has kamin loig the Mikdasha, that is the size of the loig that was in the days of the Beis Hamikdash. Uva misharin revius shel Pesach, and with that you can calculate what a revius is supposed to be for Pesach. And you take that and divide by 4. And then you know what a revius is. Revius is a quarter of that size. Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan, Tamniyasa Kadmaisa Dehava b'Tiveria, the old Tamniyasa, the old Tomin that they had in Tiveria, Havi Yisera al da Riva, is exactly 1 revius larger than the standard one that we use today. Meaning, you have a revius measurement that exists today. You have a tomin that exists today, which is a measurement that is standard, but the one that they still have in Tiveria, that they use in Tiveria, is exactly 1 revius larger. So if you calculate that difference, you'd be able to know Uva Misharon Revi'is Shel Pesach. And with that, you'd be able to calculate the Revi'is Shel Pesach. And then Rav Chisda tells us the following: Amar Rav Chisda, Revi'is Shel Torah. How big is the Revi'is of the Torah? That is etzba'im al etzba'im, 2 fingers by 2 fingers. Berum etzba'im v'chetzi etzba v'chomish etzba. At the height of 2 fingers and half a finger and a fifth of a finger. That's the size. That's Chisda says that it is 2 by 2 by 2 and a half and by 2 and a half and a fifth. And then the Gemara says Kiddatanya. We have a brisa that's going to prove that, which Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, that math we will take care of Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach on Shabbos. And looking forward, please God, to seeing everybody there, and hoping that everybody has a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh. And we will see you on Shabbos in Shul or on Matzah Shabbos online. Have a beautiful day and a Gevaldik Shabbos.